So I'll just answer questions before. Today I'm teaching promises in JavaScript. Promises. So something I missed. Promises. That's what I'm teaching today because we need it a lot. Now your assignment for this week is very interesting. Yes. And it would weigh you guys a little bit, but don't be worried. Now, the assignment for this week, I'll still write it out, but let me say it. The assignment for this week is for you to fetch data from an API and then display it on your user interface. That's just all. I know what I've just said now is sounding overwhelming, but just prepare your mind. We are warming up for our project. So the assignment for this week, I would give us an API endpoint. What you will do with this endpoint is to fetch data from that endpoint. But now I'm thinking, why should I give you guys that assignment when I've not taught you guys useEffect? So I want to teach promises. When I'm done with promises, I will not teach us useEffect. Then I give us the assignment if we can speed up. So the assignment, let me tell us what we'll do. You would create a React application, like normal creating React application. When you create the React application, go on to create a component file. Now that component file, you can name it whatever you choose to name it. Now what you're expected to do is to fetch data from that API endpoint I'll provide to us, and then display it on that component file, and then render it onto your browser. Yes, that's what you do. So I'll explain the step one by one. I would also provide the API endpoint. The assignments you did for last class will be marked this night. So by Monday, you should see your scores. Now, Kate, let me explain. What is usestate? Kate, usestate in React is that particular thing. Let me try to bring it very down. It's that particular thing that you use in storing, managing your data. Now, what is data? Data is virtually involved in every single thing we do. Those pictures you see on your website are data. Those write-ups you see on websites are data. Web applications are all data. Your name is a data, you know, right? All of these and many more are data. We use data to actually, I've not started sharing my screen, please. Someone is asking why they have not seen my screen. I'm still teaching. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you.
so with the use of usestate, we are able to manage, store our data, you know, on the go. You can manage your data, you can do a whole lot of things with your data. This is how powerful it is. So when I talk about usestate, I'm talking about being able to manage, store your data on the go. Now, this is how usestate works. Usestate works like this. Let's say you have a bag. Inside that bag, you have some amount of money. Let's say you have 100,000 naira inside that bag. Now, you want to get to the market to buy something. So when you get to the market, the person you meet to buy whatever you choose to buy tells you this thing you want to purchase costs 1,000 naira. You enter inside the bag and you bring out 1,000 naira. The next person tells you this amount is 2,000 naira. You enter inside the bag, you bring out 2,000 naira and give the person. You go back again. So the bag itself is called the usestate. The bag that stores the money inside is called the usestate. Now, the money itself is the data. The money itself, it's the data. Now, the ability to enter inside the bag and bring out 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira, 3,000 naira and give to the market person is the function. Yesterday, we actually practicalized it by doing what? By creating a component file that displays a button. And anytime you click on that button, it increases, it adds 1 to the existing number. And the existing number we put in there was 0. Once you click on that thing, it adds 1 to it, it adds 2, it adds 3, just like that on the go. That's what use is all about. Do you now have an idea? Hello, kids. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, sir. Hello? I couldn't hear you for a brief second.
But did you get a major part of what I've said?
Yes, sir. But what was confusing me majorly was, yesterday you created the CareerEx.jsx and
Mm-hmm.
you were using an is it app.js as well, the app.jss. So which part is the use state supposed to be used in? Is it the like
The
is it the app
career.js, the career.jsx, it's used on the
okay,
file, the
that's where
component file.
you
Yes, app.js. You understand?
sorry, I didn't get
Don't
it,
worry.
sir.
The use state is used in the career.jsx. It should not be used in the app.js. Do you
Okay,
understand?
okay. Yes, sir.
You don't have any business with use state on the app.js. The app.js is just for you to send in whatever file you've created inside the app.js so that it can show on your browser. Do you understand? You don't go there and start writing anything. No.
Okay, sir.
All right. Let me share my screen. All right. Can anyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's class. And today we are going to be talking about promises. Now, most of us might wonder, I think let me use some 2 minutes to actually say this thing. Um, there's a whole lot to which we can do. I want to actually tell you this. There's a whole lot. I know already I've bombarded us with a whole lot. I've bombarded you with a whole lot. Truly, let me be real with you because I like every one of us. To transition into a field like this, to call yourself a junior front-end engineer, you need solid 5 to 6 months. Solid 5 to 6 months. Solid 5 to 6 months. So whatever I'm doing, I'm just trying to make sure I touch every area that we can actually touch so that we can get productive. You get. So there are some things I didn't teach in depth. I didn't teach functions for too long. I only taught you how to create a function. I also did not do some little things in depth because time is of the essence. Regardless of that, I thought about it and we came up with what we are doing. We do every week now, where we meet and then discuss and share ideas. Yes, we've done it for 2 weeks now. So this week entry, since there's no directive Friday, we'll fix a class on Friday. Yes, we'll fix a class on Friday. It's not a class, it's a discussion to be a discussion of meeting where we would meet and discuss more on what we are doing, share ideas, and encourage one another. This thing will continue beyond the cohort ending. So even after you end the cohort, it will still be continuous. So that's the lovely aspect. So please, I know you're having this scale of the things that are being thrown at us are just too much. It's overwhelming. Please don't be discouraged. Just try your possible best. Ask me questions. I would love to be there. Today we are talking about promises in JavaScript. Promises in JavaScript are used to handle asynchronous operations, allowing you to write more readable and maintainable code. The reason why I'm teaching us promises is because of our assignment this week. Yes. So for the assignment I'm about to give you this week, it involves promises, and I realized I did not teach you guys promises when teaching you guys JavaScript, you know. So you use React to write every single line of code. Now, we have what we call promises. Promises, just try to imagine it as um, real life stuff. If someone makes a promise to you, for instance, let's say we are three friends and we have an occasion in a far distant city, and one of us in our friendship circle, one of the three of us, promises that, okay, don't worry, I'll pay for everyone's flight tickets going to this particular city. And then a day to when we are supposed to travel, the person fails. Surely your backup plan would now come up. Then, if you don't have a backup plan to cover up the promise that has been failed, you won't be able to travel to that city. So obviously you would miss that particular function. Now, that's the same scenario we have in promises. A promise is a special object in JavaScript that represents something that would happen later. For example, you're getting data from, when you load up a website, most times the website will refuse to show, but it will show you something like this. It will give you a message. You can also think of a promise like a gift card for something you are not getting now, but you would receive soon. Going further, a promise has two possible states. It has a pending state, it has a fulfilled state, it has a rejected state. What is pending? The pending state is it's still working, like your friend is still going to get. Okay, I will talk about this example. So, for instance, let's say your friend promised you an ice cream, promised an ice cream, name it a car, promised you something, but your friend promised you something, but then your friend fails to fulfill it, you would get a rejected message. So that's just it. Think of promise like someone promising you something and then a person fails at it, and then you fall back to that. Promises can actually mean like conditions, but it's not conditions. Going further, now we have methods that work with promises. We have the then, runs when the promise is fulfilled. It runs a success function. The dot catch runs when the promise is rejected. It throws an error message. The dot finally is optional. It runs no matter what, success or no failure. A promise is like telling someone, I promise to give you a car later. If I can, I will give it to you. If I can't, I will tell you why. What are the reasons why we use promises in JavaScript? That just came to me on the spot, trying to make you guys understand before we go over to the practical session. A promise in JavaScript, we have so many scenarios when using web applications, products, Most times you can request for something on a website and that thing would not show up due to one thing or the other. Websites are interconnected. Most websites you see are interconnected. On your banking app is not a standalone app. Your banking app works with what we call services. These services enable it to perform transactions. That's the reason why you can transfer from your bank to another bank, because of the availability of a particular service responsible for that. That is not independently on the bank application. What I mean is, the people who wrote your bank application that you know, they got other services that connect to their own code. Let me explain that so that you know. For you to be able to make transfers, there's a service responsible for that. For you to be able to see the person's account you're transferring to, name inquiry, there's a service responsible for that. For you to be able to pay bills like NEPA bill, airtime, name it, flight tickets from your app, all of that and many more are because there are services, external services connected on the application to run. Now, most times these services fail. These services fail when users try to engage on them. Imagine the message that pops up. So what if that service fails? What is actually going to happen? Because you cannot keep users just like that. So that's where something like promise comes in. So if this user cannot actually perform this particular activity, what message should be shown to them? That's what services is all about. Does anyone have any question before we go back to the practical session? Can anyone hear me? Hello, can anyone hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So nobody has question. People are senior people. It seems
Questions will come when we see the practical aspect.
okay. When you see the code, right?
Yes.
All right. So let's write a promise. Let's write a promise. I'll need to wire up a JavaScript file. I think this is still functional. Let me open a JavaScript file. Would implement it on React and then implement it on I'm opening my code editor, so just a minute. All right. Let me go to my script.js. Is my screen still visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. What's happening? Why is my distance hanging? What's loading on the background? I didn't tell you to save file though. What are you doing? Okay, so promises. So let's begin. So first of all, you create const. You create a variable. Let's say your friend promises you a car, and then so this is how promises work. Just follow me accordingly. I will explain when I'm done typing. So now, what I have successfully done is create a promise. Yes, so I've created a promise. What does this promise do? I created a promise, and this promise is a promise I've made to my friend that see you, I will buy you a car, I'll buy you a brand new car. Ehem. If this car is available, don't worry, I will send you the message that here is your car. But if I can't buy you the car, I will still text you as a good friend and tell you, see, oh, sorry, I could not afford your car. So now we have methods that actually work with these promises, which we call, so if we go back to our slide, we call them the then. For you to run your promises, for you to run your promise, you need these things. Number one is the dot then. The dot then is used only when the promise is fulfilled. Only when the promise is fulfilled. If the promise is not fulfilled, it won't run the function inside the dot then. The dot catch is used when the promise is rejected, when there's an error. Maybe when you go on the website and you click on transfer your money, but when the transfer cannot work, maybe bank issue or something, it will tell you that message you will not get that CEO no network available or what. I don't know, there's this message they like to send that almost everybody gets, either invalid or maybe network. I can't really remember, but there's a message they send. They'll tell you that CEO, most times duplicate transfer. Maybe when you want it twice, I'll be trying to tell you duplicate transfer. That is how promises work. We have the dot finally. The dot finally works no matter what, success or failure, but most times we don't get to use it. We don't get to use it. So guys, let's continue. Can anyone still hear me, or am I still audible? Can you still see
Yes,
my?
I hear you.
Okay, thank you. So let's continue. Now let us use this for we to get an output, for you to run this promise you have created. We have created a complete promise like this. But for we to get an output, let us use the methods that are actually let us use the method. So we'd go further and then we'll write, we'll call give car. I'm trying to load up our terminal so that I load up that. Where is my error? The promise is not defined now. Okay, let me check. Okay, this is supposed to be a capital P. Yes. Little mistakes, my messy up. Let's run this again. Road script. All right. Now let me explain. So I tried and fulfilled. I tried and I fulfilled. Is this kind English? Wrong English. I tried and why not? I tried and I got your car. I tried and I got your car. Okay, let me explain this code. Let me explain the code in a very way that would be, understandable. Okay. First of all, a promise. This keyword called new space promise is used to create a promise. So whenever you're told to create a promise, this is how you create a promise. Now, what is this resolve and reject? The resolve and reject are like two buttons. There are two buttons, red and black button, or red and blue button, when you press resolve, means everything is working. Resolve means everything is working. This is positive, Reject means there is a problem. So whenever you're creating a promise, you must use the resolve and reject. It acts like negative and positive. Going further, give car is like the promise, the name of the promise. The name of this promise is I'm giving a car, right? So that's why I gave it give car. That's the name of this promise. Now, the data involved to actually make this promise functional is called let space car is available equals to true. This is a Boolean variable. And we all know that Boolean variable is a data type that has true or false values, right? So our data in this scenario is called car is available. Is car available or not? This is what determines the output of this entire promise. So if I come here and change this from car is available to false, if I change it to false, and then I come back here, you can see I try and food, here is your car. That's because that data is set to true. If I set it to false and I run my code again, you see what it shows. No script, JS. Oh, sorry, I couldn't afford your car. So you can see this is like the base of the promise that determines if this promise would come out successful or not. So that this is the data that we have feed into our promise. Going further, sorry, I couldn't afford the car. Okay, so going further, we have a condition inside our promise that says if car is available resolve, here is your car, else reject. This is like a condition, an embedded condition that actually aids in um, these two buttons we've created, the resolve and the reject. Now going down, we have what we call methods, just like I told us, methods that work with these promises that we use in giving more output, giving more message out of our created promises. So you come down, call the name of the promise name, which is give car. You can see the dot then also works like the resolve button. So what it does is you grab it and then attach it to the promise name and then run a message inside that gives you an output. The dot catch is used when you need, the dot catch is used to pass only error messages. Yes, only error messages. Okay, let me stop here. Does anyone have any questions before we proceed? Does anyone have any question before we proceed?
No question, no.
Now, it's a lie. Don't say no question. What is a promise? Mudashiru, what is a promise? Mudashiru, can you hear me? Mudashiru has gone mute. And he was the one that said no question.
Hello, sir.
Mudashiru, can you not hear me?
Sir, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hey, you're the one that just responded now, that no question.
No, not me, sir.
Okay, who responded? Somebody responded that no question.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you, sir.
You're the one that responded, right? What is a promise?
A promise is a special object in JavaScript that represents something that will happen later.
What is the something? What is the something?
And the something can be anything like gifts, like you explained. It may be a house, it may be a shoe, it may be a pen, it may be a phone.
Okay. I forgive. All right, so let's come back inside our React application.
Hello, sir. So I have a question.
Go on.
Sir, concerning the promise gift card, I don't know the relationship between the resolve, reject, then and catch. They are kind of confusing.
Okay.
Like when you run the script, what will be the response in the terminal? Like in the resolve, I have yes your car. Also in then message. I don't know. I just I'm confused.
I said it. Can anybody who have had an understanding of what I've said help me to explain what he just asked? Is there anyone that can help explain, that have understood what we just did? Then when I asked the question, everyone kept mute.
You should try to say it again.
Okay. Repeat yourself again.
Okay. What I'm trying to say is that I'm kind of confused here. Like the relationship between resolve, reject, then and catch. Like when are those maybe the response in the terminal? I don't know what response is it going to give us, or maybe when is the then going to appear, or the result going to appear. I just don't know how they correlate together.
This, according to my own understanding, that means that I promise you a car. Do you get me now? But at the end of the day, I was unable to fulfill to give you the car. That is reject.
All
So
right.
if I was able to give you the car that I promise you, I fulfill it, that is resolved.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Okay.
Anybody wants to also try?
So what about the then and catch?
So
How did
I
they
The
think
relate
then
that
to
is
that
it?
just
is
the
to
then
give
just
you
be
an
like
output.
the method. Okay, the output, yes. Okay, let the other person.
So yeah, the then is just to like the then and the other one is supposed to give you an output for both the positive and the negative. So if you want to for resolve, which is positive, you use the dot then. Then for the other one, which is the negative, you use.
Use
Okay.
just
So
cash.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Are you clear enough? Do you now understand?
Yes, I understand. I understand.
Overwhelm you. That's why you are now in this field. You're in this field to crack your brain and understand. We have promises, and these promises helps you to perform asynchronous operations. I don't want to start bugging us with those languages, but I want to start. You can see that I am bringing it to us a little. I'm bringing it to us little by little, so that we get comfortable in it. Trust me, let me tell you guys this thing. In the next 2 to 3 months, you know, this promise now you've just seen that is still looking a bit confusing to you. If you settle down and be consistent in understanding it, in the next 2 to 3, 4 months, you'll be so perfect in writing anything at all. Arrow functions, promises, you'll be so good at it. You just have to give it time. Now, one thing we fail to do, and I see most persons do, is you learn something today and expect to understand it in 1 week. Calm down. You can't learn how to drive a car one day. You can't learn how to do anything in one day. You might know how to do it in one day, but you will not be perfect at it. So please, when you learn something, don't be so harsh on yourself that you close your laptop and then you say you don't want to do again. We started this class with some good population and some persons have not been consistent in attending. I mean, I clearly understand because I teach and I know. When I start teaching, I can have like 100 persons. When we are start winding up, you see the numbers go down. So please, try to give yourself that patience. Don't give yourself that impression that your head is blocked. That's what most persons say, that this thing is not for me. This thing is not for me. That's what you hear most persons say, which is totally wrong. The question you should ask yourself is, are people who are doing it have two heads? They don't have two heads. So try, please. I've taught you promises today. I'll show us an example to use it in React, and then I'll teach us use effect and we'll the class for you. This I will teach you now in React. I expect you to use it for your assignments. The only issue now I have is I've not introduced you to the world of API, and you would need it to fetch data this new week. So it's about to be a bumpy ride. Wear your seat belt. You fetch data from an API and display it on a UI. What I mean is, for instance, get you don't need to download any picture, save any picture to your React folder. I'll give you an endpoint, like a URL. You use that URL, fetch data from that URL, and display it on your web page. Possible or not, that's our task for this new week. So these are things that you will do when you start getting jobs. So the earlier we start pushing ourselves to it, the better. So let's
Yeah, I have a
continue.
question. I
Go
have a
on,
question.
go
Me too.
on.
Me too, I have a question after him.
Jesus. Hey
Hello?
God. God.
Can I
Hold
ask?
on. Hope is because of what I've just said, though. Nobody had questions, so
It's
No,
not
not
because of what you
not.
just said.
if
It's the
It's not
one you
if
because
just
of
somebody
the
that is
issue.
answering question, Mudashiru is the one answering people's question. If you now ask questions, what will I do? Please don't make me run. If I chase him, okay, go on. Don't mind me. I'm teasing us.
No, okay. Yesterday we did something with the CareerEx that we added header and paragraph.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask the question, but it skipped my mind.
Hello, sir.
So if we
So
are
one by one, allow him speak first, then we continue.
so
Go on, go on.
if you are building an app now, do you have to like create your header, your
Mm-hmm.
divs, and
Mm-hmm.
everything inside
Mm-hmm.
that, like using the React inside the React instead of using like
Okay.
creating a different index.html or something? So,
Okay, guys, let me also use this opportunity to also say it is a guide to your assignment this week. Now, the assignment you'll be given to do, you'll be told to do a heading, a hero page, and all of that. When you want to start to do them, you see this component folder you're seeing. Inside of it, create header or heading, whatever name you choose to call it. But that heading would have your home and all of that. Create its own heading JSS or header JSS single on its own. When you're done with that, you now do the whole thing. You come again, create the hero page, and the page that will house the hero.jsx. Then the whatever page, just like that. Don't put them on one page. When you're now done, you come on your app.js and then start calling them accordingly. Does that make sense? Hello? Can you hear me? You that asked the question.
yes, I understand.
Is it clear enough?
Yeah, it's clear now.
Okay. Mudashiru, go on.
Yeah, the question
I have a
I want to
question.
ask, like yesterday, when I was trying to practicalize what we did in the class that yesterday, I got the installing perfectly. But the issue I'm having now is this under this component, you create another file called careerx.js. But I was unable to create another file under this component, so it's giving me headache. If I want to create it, will
Oh,
bring it down to another.
who is giving Mudashiru headache? What is happening?
The component
Go
you
on, my
said
brother.
you create the component. After you create under the component, we are able to create career s, which I see. But when I was trying to do it on my own, it does not. I was unable to do that.
Like you to try to create a file inside the component folder.
Yes.
And
Yes.
all you need to do is just see. Click if you want to create a component folder, you click on this SRC, new folder. You can still create another component folder, but it's just one. We don't need two. Once you create a component folder, you click on the component and it tells you new file. You can see you can create another file. Just like that, click again, create another file. Save it .jsx.
Okay, I've
Is it clear
understood it
enough?
now. Yes. Yes.
Okay, let's proceed. Now, we would be the next stage of it is to actually practicalize. Okay, I think I need to teach use effect before. I need to teach use effect before I teach this. So let me teach use effect. Use effects. Okay. Um. Use effect. Now, guys. Use effect is actually a React hook that is used. Remember, use state is used to manage data. But we have what we call useEffect in React. Now, useEffect is used to actually manipulate data. When we manipulate data, it is used to fetch data. useEffect is used in React to fetch data. Now, it's a React hook that allows you to run side effects. Let me just use that word. useEffect is a React hook that allows you to run side effects. What are these side effects, for example? The major one we do almost every day is fetching of data, setting timers after rendering a component. useEffect is used towards run side effects. usestate, like I taught you yesterday, is used to store, manage, and manipulate data. useEffect is also used to manipulate data, but it is used, or it allows you to run side effects in React. What are these side effects? Fetching data, setting timers. For those of you who drink alcohol, when you drink alcohol, what are the side effects? You get drowsy, you want to sleep, you know. These are the side effects of drinking alcohol. useEffect is used towards run side effects in React. It's a React hook that allows you run side effects after rendering a component. What are these side effects commonly used? Side effects like fetching of data, setting timers, etc. These things are what enables you to what use. So these things actually define useEffect. Does anyone have any question? All right.
Yes, I have a
Now,
question.
okay, go on.
Sorry, sir, to draw you back. Um, this promise syntax that I used, it looks like arrow function. So how will someone differentiate between them?
You use does not look like arrow function. Arrow function is used in creating it. Do you know why you were taught? You know, from the beginning, you remember when I taught you variables, right? Were you in the class when I taught you variables?
Yes, sir.
So you can see how everything is coming to that actually do things. We use variables, we use functions, we use just like that to create promise. So it's not like how do one differentiate? No. Arrow function is used in creating promises. Does that make sense?
So I didn't, sorry, sir, I didn't get it.
I said there's no form of differentiating anything in this particular concept. Arrow function is being used. Do you understand? You use
Okay.
arrow functions. Yes, it's not how to differentiate. No, you use them. They are involved in creating a promise. Is it clear enough?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So useEffect, as explained, that's how useEffect work. It is used to run side effects. So today we'll be using one example of useEffect, which is fetching data, and then we'll close for the day. Where can I, which API can I use? Now, let me explain what an API means, because that would be where people would have issues. Now, an API is called, an API is used to do a whole lot of things. And I think I need this Friday coming, this Friday, I would need to teach us about API. So let me explain. In a restaurant, you have, if you enter a restaurant today, a dining, like a fine dining, you have waiters that actually help you to come and meet you and say, sir, Ma, what do you want? What do you want to eat? You know, we have the chefs that cook, prepare the meals or prepare drinks or whatever. Behind the kitchen, these things work this way. Look at the back end. You know, we have back end colleagues. You have your back end colleagues. You know, they are also learning their own thing. The back end is like the people preparing food, like the people who prepare the food behind the scene. The front end is where you're sitting to eat your meal. The waiters that will carry your food and come and serve for you and the drinks is called an API. Look at it from this angle. When you enter the restaurant, you sit on the chair or whatever, the waiter comes to you and asks you, what do you want? You now tell the waiter, I need one chicken and all of that. The waiter will now go. The waiter will now go and go and look for what you want and then bring it back to you. And then they'll put it on your table. Now look at the web application, like the website you use daily or the applications you use daily as that kind of scenario. Everything you can see on any website, web applications and all of that is actually the restaurant where you're sitting, the table and everything, the plates and everything. Now the back end, which you cannot see, but it's the data that runs at the back of it, is called the back end. So where the data, where the chefs, where the waiters will go and bring the food and all of that is called the back end. Now the waiter themselves, like the people serving you, is called an API. And what does an API mean? An API stands for Application Programming Interface. It is an application programming interface. What does it do? It's just some certain protocols that allows you, interact with different software systems. Simple. So let's say I have a website. Me, myself, I have a website. My friend has his own website. Now we want to do some form of fetching of data from each other's websites. We would now use an API to perform that kind of operation. I don't know if you understand. For those of you who use Child Deck to do your thing, I don't know how many of us use Child Deck. I think that's a perfect example. So Child Deck is a software application that helps you request for meals. Like you can go on the app and request for food from major restaurants, Chicken Republic, Kilimanjaro, and the rest. That is an example. So imagine Market Square has their own application, So you go on Child Deck and request for Chicken Republic food or anything, and then it makes a request to Market Square or Chicken Republic, and then they send you their meal. They get your details. So that's how API works. Does anyone have any question before we proceed? We'll soon be rounding up. Don't worry. We'll soon be rounding up soon. Does anyone have any question before we proceed? Can anyone hear me? Hope I'm not.
Can hear
Can
you.
hear you.
Thank you. All right, so let's go on. This is our React app. We'll be using two things. We'll be using a promise here. We'll be using a use effect. Import React from a React. So two things we need. We need a use state. We need a use state. We need a use effect. We need a use effect. I don't need you to differentiate it, please. Thank you. So import React from all right. So we've imported two things into our application, a use effect and a use state. At least we all know what these two things. The next thing we'll do is to create a component file function. Function CareerEx. Function CareerEx. So we'll create, okay, let me just fetch this users of CareerEx. Dot then please allow us have a seamless class, please. These are the map and user. Mm, these are the ID. These are the name. These are the email. These are the email. Yep. Loading users. I have like 6 errors. To figure that out. Loading users. Export default. CareerEx. Let me kill this. We are done. Let me fix my errors. Let me fix my bugs. Please, can anyone still hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. So let's fix our errors and then run accordingly. Time is of the essence. User. So we'll be able to now fetch data from components CareerEx. Okay. Let's fix. Telling me that I don't have errors. How? How is it possible? I have errors here. I should have errors. It's not showing me my errors here. I have errors. It's not possible for me not to have errors. Abi, am I dreaming? Okay, let me run my code, but let me still confirm. Fix apps. Fix my errors. I doubt I have an error. So before I run it, I'll explain every part of my code. Let me just make sure I'm on point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know how it is. All right. Okay, so let's run our code and then let me come and explain and call it a day. Let me open my terminal. Let's see if this works. npm start. Editing and error correction. So the catch, okay. Well, I made mistake with my dot length. Okay, I made mistake with just my dot length and comma.
I'm a
I
wrong
mistake
boss.
npm. Please, everyone, I would explain npm start. npm start. We are waiting for React code to give us a it's loading up the device, so just hold on a bit. Starting the development server. Supposed to get an output. What was happening? Oh, I did not render it. I did not render it on the app.js. Quick one. That's why I did not show. Let me import this. Import career. I come here and put CareerEx. So this should show now. So let's see. Loading me. Okay, correct. All right. Can anyone still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
So yes, if you watch well, I'd never typed any names. All of these names, I did not type them on my code. I fetched all of these names from an API, like an external data. I fetched it and I displayed it on my own website, on my own page. What did I do then? Let's go to what we did. So on our CareerEx.js, first thing I did was import. Let me bring this down. Today we really learned though. So first thing I did was import React, import useEffect, and import usestate. We all know what these two things do. I don't expect me to be going through that. Then I went over with my usestate. Like I created my usestate and I made it empty because I'm not imputing any data. I'm not setting it to any data. I give it an empty parenthesis. Now, going further, I was able to actually create, use effect is actually used in what? Creating side effects in React. Example of it is fetching data. I had to fetch data from this URL. This URL is like it's not like it's an API, it's an API endpoint that fetches data that you can use to fetch data, you know. So I fetch data from it. So you can see this is an API endpoint that has data of people, that just random people, but we just need their username and email. We don't need the rest of their detail. We just need the username and email from this particular data API endpoint. So you can see it's like an external data of people from someone's own personal JSON data. Is not our own. What I said was just their name and their email, which we clearly picked up. So you can see with their name and their username rather. Now going back, after I fetched the data using useEffect, I now had to create a promise. What is the promise doing? The promise is banking on this particular data that is going to be fetched. In case this data is not going to be fetched, what will now happen? My promise on this page is that it's going to display data of people from that site. But what if this URL fails, or the people that owns the JSON data, whatever, the API endpoint, is not made available? What will now happen? We'll now have an error message that displays error fetching CareerEx users. Then we are entirely done with the function. We need to return something when we run this function, which is where we came here and created H2 users.length, you know, 0, you know, created a UL on ordered list, you know, and then a paragraph of loading users. Now, this paragraph of loading users would never come up if as long as this API endpoint is correct for us to fetch data. If I now clean it now, for instance, let me clean it. Now I've cleaned it. If I go back on the web page, and this is supposed to reload automatically, so you can see it now shows loading users. It shows loading users. So you can see this particular promise, there's nothing inside. This use effect, there's nothing inside the use effect. So there's no resolve for it to run. Instead, we'll get an error message, you know, error fetching users, CareerEx users. Then instead of we displaying this error fetching CareerEx users, to make it more presentable, that's where we now come and display these loading users instead. So most times when you go on some websites and you're trying to, you know, the thing will just be endlessly loading without showing you anything. That's because there's an error message that is running that you don't know. But if we come on our website, you know, we logged the information. So let me inspect. You see that error message that we let me go to the console. Yeah. If you go on your console, why this is different. Okay, so conclusively, in summarizing all of this, let me not keep us beyond time. Tomorrow is work for most of us. I thought about promise. A promise is used for those who joined it late. A promise is used you know, when you have something in question, you know, a promise is telling someone, I promise to give you this car, I will give it to you. That's an example of a promise. But if what happens when you don't have the car to give to the person? The promise in this particular project, little project we just did now, is we promise to display some set of data, you know, from these people's data, JSON data. What if we don't have the data to display? What if what will happen? That's when promise comes in. Use effect. You learned about use effects today. Use effect is like side effect. It's a React hook that acts like a side effect. You know, what if? What if? Everything boils down to what if. You can't keep your users blank. Use effect is a side effect in React. You know, well, and what are those side effects? Example of side effects. You know, timers, fetching of data. But in this scenario, we are fetching data. We're able to fetch data from this URL. So let me go back inside my code and then so now the URL has been provided, and let's go and check our React app. Let's reload. You see that it's, so you can see it has displayed the data immediately I provided it. That's what use effect can do. Who has questions while we mark attendance? Your assignment is everything that I've just done. For those of you who submitted your assignment, you will receive your marks tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, everything I've done today and yesterday is what you will do as assignment. So the recordings will be available max tomorrow. Max tomorrow, please. So attendance is open. Who has questions? Can anyone still hear me?
Hello, sir.
I can hear you.
Hi, sir. I have questions. So please, the place of the another list, another list. Hello.
Go on, go on.
Yes, the another list.